"Don't touch me," I said. "No, get off me." Her voice ripped through the darkened hospital corridor, echoing off linoleum walls as gloved hands slammed her against the medicine cabinet. Dr. Olia Monroe kicked, clawed, screamed, but no one came. 3 men in security uniforms pinned her down in the trauma room she'd saved lives in. They grinned as she bled. "Should have stayed in your lane, bitch," one hissed, tightening the zip ties around her wrists. She spat blood into his face. "I'm going to survive this, and I'll ruin you." She did not. By the time the night nurse unlocked the door 2 hours later, all that was left was silence. Olia's lifeless body lay crumpled beneath a blood-streaked monitor. Her scrubs were shredded. Her name tag, bent, soaked, cracked, still clung to her chest. The hospital pretended nothing happened. Security footage mysteriously erased. The guards vanished. The admin silent. But 5 miles away, Marcus Monroe, her husband, FBI profiler, was brushing his daughter's hair when the phone rang. "City General, please come immediately." Hours later, he stood in a fluorescent-lit room. White sheet, cold table. His wife's battered face stared back at him. His throat clenched. No tears came. He just whispered, "You called the wrong man." He walked out without a word past the police chief, the coroner, the chaplain, and didn't look back. Something ancient had awakened in him. Not grief. Not pain hunt. "They didn't just rape my wife," he murmured. "They declared extinction." Marcus Monroe didn't sleep that night. After the morgue, he drove home in silence. His knuckles white around the steering wheel, his mind hollow and howling. But this isn't where the story started. It started just 3 days before, in the hum of a normal life, in the kind of peace that makes tragedy feel like a thunderclap. The Monroe home sat on the edge of a quiet cul-de-sac in southern Maryland. Modest brick. A rusted wind chime by the porch rattled every time their daughter, Maya, slammed the front door. Olia loved that sound. "You're gonna miss that one day," she'd always say, smiling over her coffee cup, hair wrapped in a bright scarf. Eyes still tired from night shifts, but warm, always warm. Marcus had only been retired from the FBI for 6 months. After 2 decades of hunting monsters, he was learning how to slow down. The yard had patches of grass he was trying and failing to grow. He'd taken up cooking badly. "You're really trying to serve me pink chicken again, Agent Monroe?" Olia teased, grinning as she poked the meat with a fork. He smirked. "Don't question the method. I interrogated serial killers for less." They laughed. Maya groaned and reached for cereal. This was their rhythm. Family breakfasts, early, school drop-offs, Marcus pacing the living room with idle hands while Olia changed into her blue scrubs. The hospital was underfunded, understaffed, but she showed up every night without fail. She didn't just treat patients, she fought for them. That Thursday morning, Olia kissed Maya's forehead and whispered, "You'll dream about flying tonight, baby bird," then turned to Marcus, squeezed his hand a second longer than usual, and left for her shift. As she drove, the radio buzzed with static. News of a protest in D.C. over a police shooting played faintly in the background. She turned the volume down and exhaled. The hospital sat in a rough part of town. Security had tightened recently. There'd been new hires, faces she didn't recognize. When she walked into the ER that evening, a patient, an older black man, with bandaged ribs, grabbed her wrist gently. "They moved my room again," he said, voice gravelly. "Put me on the 2nd floor, away from everybody." "I'll check on that," she promised. His grip tightened. "Doc, not everyone who wears a badge in here protects." She paused. "What did you say?" But he just leaned back against his pillow and closed his eyes. Back at home, Marcus was brushing Maya's curls as she narrated her day in whispers and dramatic pauses. He chuckled, nodding along, grateful for the stillness. He hadn't told Olia everything about why he retired. The bureau had changed. He'd seen too much, covered up too much, and somewhere along the line, his faith in the system had cracked. But here, with Maya resting her head on his chest and bedtime books stacked by the nightstand, he felt something like peace. "Can I sleep in Mummy's side of the bed?" she asked. "Only if you promise not to kick me like a donkey again," he said. She giggled. Deal. That night, Olia stayed late. She called Marcus at 10:46 p.m., emergency surgery. "Should be home by 1, don't wait up." "You know I will," he said softly. "Yeah, I know." They never spoke again. But in those last hours, in that modest home, filled with laughter and burnt dinners, bedtime stories and inside jokes, whispered prayers and unwritten tomorrows, they were whole. And because they were whole, what happened next would shatter everything. Friday evening, the night sky hung heavy with clouds, and the wind carried that strange, charged stillness that comes before a storm. Marcus had just tucked Maya into bed with her favorite stuffed giraffe, and a lullaby Olia used to hum. He stared at the front door a while, waiting for headlights to appear, but they did in single quotes. Exactly 11:19 p.m. The phone rang again. Olia thought you'd be home by now, he answered casually. But it wasn't her voice. Dr. Monroe's been called in, said the hospital operator. Multi-car crash. 5 victims. She's the only trauma surgeon on call. Marcus exhaled, eyes tired. Did she ask you to call me? No sir, just protocol. He stared at the empty side of the bed. Okay, thank you. Meanwhile, across town, Olia walked through the hospital's side entrance. The main gate was closed, which was strange, but she assumed it was for maintenance. Her ID card beeped, but the door made her swipe twice. Another glitch. Inside, the halls were too quiet. The trauma wing usually buzzed, nurses rushing, machines humming, phones ringing, but tonight, it felt muted. She passed the front desk. No one was there. Turning the corner, she saw 3 new faces. 3 white men in matching black security uniforms stood clustered near the vending machines. Their laughter stopped the second they saw her. She nodded politely. Evening. They didn't reply. She kept walking, but her steps slowed. Something in her gut twisted. Olia made it to the surgical locker room. Empty. She reached for her phone. 1 bar, then none, of course. She muttered, trying again. The screen froze. No signal, no Wi-Fi. She changed into her scrubs quickly, and stepped out, heading toward Trauma Room 2. The hallway lights flickered once. Then again she paused. A low hum buzzed from above, the fluorescent lights straining, flickering like a dying pulse. Her footsteps echoed louder than usual. She reached the door locked. She tried another hallway. Also locked, behind her. Click. She turned. No. 1. She tapped her badge on the emergency exit. Nothing. Doors stayed shut. The air felt colder now. The overhead lights dimmed slightly, humming louder. A nearby wall camera was tilted at a strange angle, broken. Her heart beat faster. She walked back to the nurse's station, still empty. Then she heard it. Footsteps behind her. Slow, confident, heavy boots. She spun around. The 3 guards stood at the end of the hallway, watching her. One of them smiled. What's going on? She asked, voice tight. No answer. She took a step back. I'll call security. The tallest one chuckled. We are security. The lights went out. What happened next never made it to any official report. By the time the janitor entered Trauma Room 2 at 3:42 a.m., the scene was clinical in the worst way. Olia's body was found slumped beneath the supply cabinet. Her wrists were bruised and marked with zip tie impressions. Her ID tag was snapped in half. A trail of blood led to the mop closet. The camera in that wing had overheated and failed. That's what the tech report said. Her chart was missing. Her locker was broken. No sign of the guards. By dawn, the hospital director issued a statement calling it a tragic medical emergency. Marcus got the call at 4:11 a.m. Detective Howard, cool voice. Matter of fact, there's been an incident involving your wife. We need you to come down to City General immediately. Marcus didn't ask questions. He already knew. The room they led him to smelled like antiseptic and silence. A body lay beneath a sheet, zipped halfway. He didn't cry, didn't blink, just stared at the bruising on her neck, the way her fingernails were broken, defensive wounds. He recognized every sign he had once taught them at Quantico, and yet the officer beside him read from a clipboard. Preliminary cause appears to be cardiac arrest, possibly stress-induced. Routine procedure. Marcus looked up slowly. Where were the security guards? We're reviewing footage, sir. Where is it? Some files were corrupted, and the doctors, the nurses on shift. Rotations changed last minute. Staff shortage. Just bad timing. Marcus leaned forward. You expect me to believe that the most organized woman I know, a trauma surgeon, died in a hallway without anyone noticing, and all your cameras just happened to break? The detective didn't answer. Instead, he handed over a sealed bag, Olia's name tag still soaked in blood. Marcus drove home just after sunrise. He didn't turn the radio on, didn't speak to anyone. He sat in the driveway for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. In his head, he saw her, the way she'd smiled at breakfast, the way her eyes had narrowed playfully when she accused him of undercooking chicken, the way she kissed their daughter's forehead before every shift, like it might be the last. And suddenly he knew. This wasn't a tragedy. It was a message. The funeral was closed casket. Too much damage to show. Too many lies to cover. The media called it a tragic loss of a frontline healthcare hero. The hospital released a statement praising Olia's courage and commitment. Flowers poured in, Politicians tweeted condolences, but no one mentioned the bruises. No one spoke of the zip ties. The official line read, "A fatal heart episode under duress during late-night emergency duty." Marcus stood beside her coffin, fists clenched, eyes empty. He said nothing at the podium. He didn't cry during the eulogy. He didn't flinch when her mother collapsed during the hymn. He just stood there, his daughter clutching his pant leg, asking why Mommy wouldn't wake up. 2 days after the burial, Marcus walked into the precinct and demanded to speak with the case detective. Detective Howard met him with a tired smile. "Mr. Monroe, I understand how difficult." Marcus cut him off. "I worked criminal behavioral profiling for 21 years. Don't try the soft approach. I want the footage. I want every report. I want names." Howard sighed. "There's nothing to show. We reviewed what we had. The tech team there were 3 new guards on duty that night. I want their files. They were third-party hires, contracted. No prior issues flagged. No issues because no one looked. Pull their past employers, civil complaints. Anything sealed." Howard leaned forward, voice lower. "You're not FBI anymore, Monroe. You're a grieving husband. Go home." That night, Marcus stood in the kitchen long after Maya fell asleep, staring at the bottle of whiskey he hadn't touched in 4 years. He opened it. No glass. Straight from the neck. Over the next 2 weeks, he unraveled. He snapped at Maya when she asked for bedtime stories. He forgot to pack her school lunch. He didn't answer his sister's calls. The house grew cold, quiet, cluttered. Mail piled on the counter. Dishes rotted in the sink. He sat in the garage most nights, staring at Olia's SUV, still parked where she left it. Inside the glove box, he found her hospital badge. He turned it over in his hands, traced the cracked plastic with his thumb. Bloodstains still lined the edges. Then came the nightmares. Not have heard of them, of every face he ever profiled. Killers, rapists, predators, in suits and uniforms. Monsters he once chased now filled his dreams, but this time, he wasn't the one hunting. They circled his daughter, stalked his home, grinned in the shadows. He'd wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, reaching for a gun that wasn't there anymore. He started seeing a therapist once, never went back. One evening, he finally walked into the hospital. Nobody recognized him. He wore a ball cap low over his eyes, hoodie up, hands in pockets. He made it to the back security station, empty. The office was locked, but the cleaning crew had left their cart too close to the door. A wedge of folded cardboard kept it from closing fully. He slipped inside. 2 minutes. No more. He scanned the desk, found a drawer labeled backup drives. He pocketed 3 of them and walked out without a word. Back home, he sat at his laptop, hands shaking. 2 of the drives were junk, corrupted or wiped. The third worked. The file folder had 12 clips. Most were hallway loops, nurses coming and going. Patients wheeled around. Normal. Then he saw it. Time-stamped 2:16 a.m. hallway 3B. The footage was grainy, no audio, but it was clear. Olia stumbling forward, clutching her ribs. Behind her 2 men. She turned, mouth open. Her body language was panicked. Then glitch. The screen froze. For 4 seconds. When it resumed, the hallway was empty. No Olia, no guards, just silence. His heart stopped. He rewound, watched again and again. He didn't cry, didn't blink. He leaned back, fingers laced together beneath his chin. This was murder, he whispered. Not negligence, not failure, not stress-induced collapse. Premeditated, covered, hidden. The next morning, Marcus dropped Maya off at school early. He kissed her forehead, lingered a moment, then drove straight to a storage unit 3 miles from their old field office. His passcode still worked. Inside, a metal cabinet, an old duffel bag, and a lockbox. He opened the bag slowly. FBI files, behavioral reports, archived cases, and under it all, his sidearm disassembled. Clean. He didn't touch the gun, not yet. Instead, he grabbed the corkboard, tacks and string. Back home, he cleared out the garage. He set the board up, printed stills from the security video, taped a copy of Olia's autopsy report, marked off known personnel on duty that night, began mapping locations, timestamps, security positions. The profiler had returned, but this time the monster wasn't. Unknown. He had names. Faces. Night. Marcus stood in the backyard, staring up at the stars. He hadn't looked at the sky since she died. For a moment, he remembered their wedding, the way Olia laughed under the fairy lights, the way she whispered, "We're safe now," after they moved to this house. He pressed a photo of her to his lips. "I swear to you," he said quietly, "they will know fear." The wind picked up. The chimes rattled. And Marcus Monroe stepped back into the darkness. not as a husband, but as a hunter. For weeks after Olia Monroe's murder, the men who killed her were laughing over beer and ribs. The bar was dim, tucked between a pawn shop and a tattoo parlor. A single neon sign buzzed outside Coleman's Grill. Inside, country rock hummed from a jukebox, and the booths smelled of grease and stale sweat. Derek Slade leaned back in his seat, boots propped on the chair across from him. His knuckles were bruised again from a bar fight the night before. His right hand still twitched when he drank too much, a leftover tic from his days as a cop. "You'll see the news. They gave her a fucking commendation," he grunted, lighting a cigarette. "Dead woman gets a plaque. What about us, huh? No medal for cleanup crew." Braden Calloway flinched. He hated these nights. The laughter, the way Derek talked about it like it was a prank gone wrong instead of rape and murder. Braden stared down into his glass of whiskey, swirling the ice with his finger. "We shouldn't be talking about this," he muttered. Derek leaned forward, grinning through his cigarette smoke. "Relax, boy, you sound like a bitch." Braden's jaw clenched, but he didn't respond. He never did. Then came Lucas. He arrived late, as always, wearing a pressed shirt, aviator shades even indoors, and that stupid gold chain that glinted whenever he smiled. "Gentlemen," he said, sliding into the booth. "Sorry, had to make sure my new gig lined up. Different hospital, double the pay, no background checks." He winked. Derek chuckled. "You're welcome." Lucas raised his beer to clean exits and blind cameras. They all clinked glasses, even Braden, reluctantly. If Olia's death haunted them, it didn't show. Lucas had always been the ringleader, smart, charming, practiced. He knew how to talk circles around people, could smile while threatening you, could write a report that buried the truth so deep it'd suffocate. He'd done it before. He wasn't just confident in his freedom, he relished the idea that no one could touch him. "What happened to the janitor?" Lucas asked, licking barbecue sauce off his thumb. Derek shrugged. "Got paid, shut up, quit next day, and the camera files, pulled, wiped, protocol. Admin just wants it to go away." Lucas smiled. "And it will." But Braden wasn't smiling. He drank faster, smoked more, started missing group texts. The images still played in his head, the way she screamed, the sound of her bones cracking under Derek's elbow, the final silence that came too quickly. He wasn't built for this. He'd followed orders, froze up, watched Dot, but that didn't make him innocent. In his dreams, she always looked at him, not them, him. 2 days later, Lucas met with a hospital administrator, a handshake deal, transfer approved, history scrubbed. "You boys did your job," the admin said quietly. "And sometimes doing your job gets messy," Lucas agreed. He always agreed. Derek, on the other hand, spiraled differently. No job lined up, angrier than usual. He started sleeping with a gun under his pillow again, like back when internal affairs had eyes on him. He hated being out of uniform, hated the silence, hated the flashes of her face in his head when he closed his eyes. So he drank, drove fast, picked fights with strangers. When a bartender refused to serve him one night, Derek pinned him against the wall and screamed, "You're better than me. You didn't see what I've seen." Police came, let him go, just like always. Lucas kept in touch with both men through burner phones. Nothing written, no traceable apps. He didn't trust anyone, especially Braden. "You sure he won't break?" he asked Derek on a call. "He's weak, but not stupid," Derek replied. "Knows he goes down with us." Lucas thought for a moment. "Still, keep an eye on him." Braden started skipping meetings altogether. He stopped answering calls, sat in his car for hours at night, parked outside the hospital, staring at the emergency entrance. Once, he almost walked in, almost confessed, but fear sat heavier than guilt. He'd seen what the system did to black victims, to whistleblowers, to anyone who tried to go against the current. They'd covered up child abuse before, covered up overdose deaths. They'd cover this too. Still, something inside him cracked a little more every day. Lucas felt untouchable. He flirted with nurses, sent flowers to HR, posted filtered photos on social media of him volunteering at animal shelters. He had his narrative. "I'm the guy who helps people," he told a new colleague. Always been a protector. And maybe he even believed that because Lucas had rules. He had reasons. "She disrespected us," he once told Derek. "Treated us like she was better, like we were the danger. I gave her a chance to walk away. She said no. So we made her regret it." In a quiet apartment in the city, Braden sat at his kitchen table with a bottle of sleeping pills and Olia Monroe's face in his head. He whispered, "I'm sorry," but he didn't take the pills, not yet. Across town, Marcus Monroe stared at all three of their photos tacked To the center of his garage corkboard he'd found them: Lucas Wells, former military, dishonorably discharged. History of misconduct, no charges. Derek Slade, ex-cop fired after 3 brutality complaints. All sealed. Still had his gun license. Braden Calloway, clean record, but recently fired from a correctional facility after emotional instability. Only one without priors. Marcus studied their faces like he once did with serial offenders. Memorized the contours, the eyes, the body language. These weren't ghosts. They were men, living, laughing, free, and one by one he would bury them. Marcus Monroe didn't sleep, not anymore. Instead, he built a war room. He cleared out the garage, covered the windows with blackout film, and strung string light bulbs overhead, soft and surgical, the kind he used in interrogation rooms. The scent of oil, old cardboard, and blood memory clung to the walls. On the far end, a corkboard stretched 10 feet wide, mapped with photos, timelines, printouts, and coffee-stained notes. 3 profiles sat at the center: Lucas Wells, Derek Slade, Braden Calloway, each face printed and annotated, just like he'd done in Quantico when hunting serial predators. But this time, there was no chain of command, no arrest warrant, no one watching over his shoulder, just rage, focused, methodical. He labeled it, Case number 187, MMV them. Old instincts returned. Fast. He reached out to former colleagues under pretext off record. Some were helpful, others wary. You're not part of the bureau anymore, one warned. You start digging too deep, they'll close ranks on you. Good, Marcus replied. Let them try. He met an old forensic tech at a diner outside Baltimore, slid him a flash drive under the table. Find me what's left. Metadata, file fragments, anything. The tech frowned. You're looking at sealed hospital security files. They'll burn your address if they smell you coming. Marcus sipped his coffee. Then I'll walk through fire. Back in the garage, he replayed the 2:16 a.m. footage frame by frame, analyzing body language, spacing, threat patterns. Olia had been cornered, disoriented, no exit. Her stance was defensive, then resigned. He watched her vanish into the camera glitch 27 times before his hands trembled too hard to hit replay. He worked in silence, 12 hours a day, slept on the garage floor when exhaustion broke him. His daughter stayed with her aunt for the week. He told her it was work stuff. She didn't ask questions. She had her mother's eyes, and lately they'd been watching him differently. He ran a full psychological breakdown on each target. Lucas Wells, narcissist, charming, believes in systems he can manipulate. Cold detachment, high-functioning sociopath, likely to escalate if threatened. Derek Slade, rage-fueled, violent, direct, PTSD triggers, fragile masculinity, easily provoked. Braden Calloway, passive, conscience remains, guilt visible. Weakest link. Marcus circled Braden's photo in red. Start here. He tracked him for 3 days. Braden worked at a garage now, quiet job, lived in a studio apartment, no family nearby. He kept to himself, didn't go out, bought the same bottle of whiskey every 2 nights, a man unraveling slowly. Perfect. On the 4th night, Marcus stood outside Braden's building, watching the lights flicker inside his window. He waited until midnight, then rang the buzzer. Yeah, Braden's voice crackled through the intercom. Package delivery. A pause, then a buzz. Marcus stepped inside, climbed the stairs slow, Braden, opened the door half a crack, saw the face, froze. What? Marcus pushed the door open with his shoulder and stepped inside. Braden stumbled back. I'm not here to kill you, Marcus said, voice level. Not yet. Braden's hands trembled. Look, man, listen, you didn't stop them. I couldn't. Lucas said he said she was gonna report us. I was scared. Marcus moved closer, voice low. She begged, didn't she? Braden dropped to the floor, hands over his ears. I'm sorry. I didn't touch her, I just watched. I froze. Marcus crouched, lifted Braden's chin. You know what happens to bystanders, Braden? Braden shook his head, tears streaking down his face. They burn too. Marcus left him there, sobbing on the floor. No violence. Not yet. But the message was delivered. The next day, Lucas got a call from Braden, rambling, panicked, talking about him and he knows. Lucas chuckled. Let him know. What's he gonna do, cry at us? Braden begged him to go to the police. Lucas's tone changed. You go to them, he hissed. I'll bury you first. He hung up, but for the first time in weeks, Lucas felt something foreign creep up his spine. Back in the war room, Marcus updated the timeline. drew a red line through Braden's face, unstable, fractured, watched her die. Then he opened a box beneath the corkboard, inside a tactical folder from a 2009 FBI raid. He pulled out a case photo, a man who had murdered 4 women across state lines, same signature, same arrogance, same cold eyes. He pinned the image beside Lucas's, then whispered, "You're the same animal, and I used to hunt your kind for sport." But not everything inside Marcus was steel. That night he broke down, punched the drywall, collapsed to his knees. He stared at his hands, covered in dust and blood. "What am I doing?" he whispered. Wasn't building a case anymore. He wasn't seeking justice. He was preparing for war, and it scared him, because a part of him, maybe the worst part, enjoyed it. The control, the clarity, the hunger. He saw his reflection in the garage window, unshaven, hollow-eyed wild dot. He saw a man he used to chase. The next morning he stood at the edge of Olia's grave, silent. Birds chirped softly in the trees. He laid her stethoscope down beside the tombstone. "I don't know if you'd hate me for this," he said, voice breaking, "but I have to finish it, because the system won't, and I can't let them breathe the same air you no longer can." He wiped his eyes, stood straighter. "They know I'm coming now. Let's see who runs first." And with that, Marcus Monroe, profiler, father, widower, became something else, not the man he once was. Not yet a killer, but close. Very, very close. 2 weeks after Marcus Monroe walked into Braden Calloway's apartment and left him broken on the floor. The ripples had reached Washington. The bureau called him in. Not formally, not on paper, a private meeting, a quiet room, no phones allowed. Assistant Director Lawrence Green sat across from him. Bald, lean, sharp-suited, and heavy with years of secrets. He wasn't smiling. "You've been digging," Green said. "Hard, sloppy." Marcus leaned back in the chair, arms crossed. "They killed my wife. You think I care about clean?" "I care," Green replied, "because this isn't the job anymore. This is personal." "Damn right it is. You've been flagged in for different internal systems, surveillance, digital forensics, local PD. Hell, I had to shut down a subpoena request from the hospital's legal team just to get you in here without a warrant." "I didn't come to ask permission," Marcus said coldly. Green slid a file across the table, thin, a summary. "Then hear this as a warning. You're not going to like what happens next." Marcus didn't touch the file. Green sighed. "I know who you used to be, Marcus. I trained you. But this, revenge has a gravity. You orbit it long enough. You stop being who you were. You stop coming back." "I'm not orbiting," Marcus said. "I'm falling." Then he stood, walked out, and didn't look back. That night he drove in silence until the tires turned gravel beneath him. He pulled into a dark cul-de-sac, walked up the driveway of a house he hadn't visited in 6 years. He knocked once. The door opened, and there stood Victor Banks, his old field partner. They stared at each other for a long time. Then Victor stepped aside. "Come in." The living room was the same, beige walls, leather couch, photos of Victor's wife and 2 boys lined the mantel. Marcus sat down, slower than before. Victor poured whiskey into 2 glasses and sat across from him. "I heard you've been busy," he said, no judgment in his tone. "I didn't come here for forgiveness. I didn't offer it." Silence. Then Marcus finally asked, "If they did this to your wife, would you let them walk?" Victor didn't blink. "No. I'd do worse than what you're planning." "Then why call me here?" Victor took a long sip. "Because I want you to remember who the hell you were before this turned you into a ghost." Marcus looked up, exhausted. "You think I don't know? You think I don't see what it's doing to me? But you also know the truth. No one's coming. No badge, no press, no judge." Victor's jaw tightened. "You're right." Then softer. "But I also know once you cross that line you don't come back." Marcus finished his drink, set the glass down, and left. The next morning, he came home to find Maya sitting silently at the kitchen table, her cereal soggy. She looked up. "Uncle Vic called, said he was worried." Marcus nodded slowly. "He's just ... looking out for me." She blinked once. "Are you going to die?" The question hit like a bullet. "What? No. You looked like Mummy did before she left. Tired. Like everything's heavy." He knelt down beside her. "Baby, I'm just fighting to make sure what happened never happens again. But you don't smile anymore." He opened his mouth, closed it, then kissed her forehead. "I will. I promise." Later that night, his front gate creaked open. Someone walked up his driveway. He checked the security cam. Olia's cousin, Devon. Trusted family. Marcus opened the door. Devon looked nervous. "Can we talk?" In the living room, Devon sat down, rubbing his hands together. "Look man, I've been hearing things. People saying you've been asking questions. Loud questions. Marcus stared at him, and Devon looked away. I may have mentioned something to someone, a friend on the hospital board. The silence was nuclear. You told them I was investigating. I thought it might, push them to respond. I didn't know they'd. Marcus stood, walked to the door, opened it. You need to leave. Devon's voice cracked. Marcus, I was just trying to help. You didn't. You gave them time. Devon hesitated. You going to kill them? Marcus didn't answer. He just closed the door. The next night, he struck. It wasn't messy. It wasn't rage. It was surgical. Target: Derek Slade. Location: a dingy strip club where Derek moonlighted as a bouncer on weekends. Marcus watched him from the parking lot for hours, waited until he left through the back alley, drunk and alone. He followed quietly, no mask, no gloves, just darkness and memory. When Derek stopped to piss against a dumpster, Marcus stepped out. Derek barely turned. Before Marcus cracked him across the head with the butt of a crowbar, he fell hard, tried to crawl. Marcus grabbed him by the collar and dragged him into a loading dock, tied his hands with a zip tie, one handed to him by the same system that used it on Olia. Derek's eyes fluttered. Monroe, weightless, and Marcus leaned down. Calm, collected. She screamed, and you laughed. I didn't mean, she, Lucas said. Marcus placed a photo of Olia in Derek's lap. She trusted the system, and it gave her. He stuffed a cloth in Derek's mouth, then he tightened the belt around his neck. 3 minutes later, Derek Slade was dead. No bruises, no blood. Just silence. The next morning, police found the body. Official cause of death: suicide, alcohol in his system. History of aggression, closed case. The hospital released a quiet condolence. Nothing more, but Lucas saw it differently. He read between the lines. Saw the lack of media noise, the silence behind the scenes. He knew someone was coming. He tried to reach Braden. No answer. He packed a go bag. Burner phones, IDs, cash. Told the hospital he had COVID. Took 2 weeks leave, and ran. Marcus stood in the garage, updating the wallboard. A red X now slashed across Derek's photo. He stared at Lucas's picture. A post-it note beneath it read, panicking, cracks forming. He pulled out a burner of his own, dialed a number. It rang twice, then connected. He didn't speak, but a voice answered. You ready for the next one? Victor's voice, heavy, resigned. Marcus replied, I already started. Across the city, Lucas Wells locked 3 deadbolts behind his hotel door, checked every window, pulled every curtain. He stared at the mirror, and whispered to himself, you're still in control. But even he didn't believe it anymore. The hospital had changed nothing. Same rusted vents, same humming fluorescent light, same cracked floor tiles in hallway 3B. Marcus stood at the emergency entrance, just before midnight, dressed in black. He pressed his palm against the cold steel door. The weight of memory hit instantly. Her voice in his head, her footsteps echoing the moment the light went out and the cameras cut off. She died here, and tonight, someone else would too. Wells had returned to work that week. He couldn't hide forever. He told himself he was fine, told himself the panic attacks, the hotel room rituals, the nightmares, they were just stress, nothing more. But deep down, Lucas knew Marcus was coming. He'd seen it in Derek's death. To clean, to silent, to poetic. That wasn't random, that was him. So Lucas had started preparing. Gun tucked under his belt, knife in his boot, panic button wired to his phone, and a new hospital shift, far from security cameras. He even requested basement rounds, quieter, more control. What he didn't know was Marcus had already mapped the entire floor plan, already disabled the feeds, already bribed the one-night tech who still owed him a favor from Quantico. Jam sebelas lewat 47 menit PM myth basement hallway 3B. Lucas walked the corridor alone, clipboard in hand. Then the lights dimmed, not all at once, just enough to murmur danger. He froze. Silence. His hand moved slowly to the gun at his back. I wouldn't, a voice said from the dark. Marcus stepped out of the shadows. No gun, no mask, just him, face to face. Lucas drew anyway, pointed it. Don't come closer. Marcus did. Lucas fired. Click. No bullet. Marcus held up the clip, stolen earlier. Safety first. Lucas backed against the wall, hand shaking. You're insane, he said. Marcus kept walking. I'm a husband. Then you should know. Lucas tried, tone rising, eyes darting. You think this fixes anything? You think this makes it right? Marcus said nothing. Lucas's voice cracked. She fought us, she spit on us, she provoked it. Marcus stopped, and whispered, say her name. Lucas didn't say it. Lucas shook his head, and then smiled. That same smug, tooth-bearing grin that had haunted Marcus's mind for weeks. She begged me, Lucas said softly. Just like that, something inside Marcus snapped. He lunged. They crashed into the metal cabinets, the sound echoing through the basement like a gunshot. Lucas swung wildly. Marcus ducked, grabbed his arm, slammed it into the wall. The gun clattered across the floor. Lucas reached for the knife in his boot, but Marcus was faster. He kicked it away, grabbed Lucas by the collar, and slammed him to the ground. Lucas fought back, elbow to the face, blood spilling from Marcus's nose, but Marcus didn't feel pain anymore. He pinned Lucas, knees on his chest, and punched. Once, twice. The third strike cracked bone. Blood splattered across the tile. Lucas groaned. Dazed, Marcus pulled a zip tie from his jacket, wrapped it around Lucas's throat, tightened. Lucas gasped. Marcus leaned in close, their faces inches apart. You don't get to breathe her air anymore. Lucas clawed at his hands, but the strength was gone. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. He saw flashes Olia in her wedding dress, Olia with Maya in the kitchen, Olia laughing in the garden. Then he saw her bruised, broken, bleeding, and Lucas grinning. He let go, not because he forgave, but because he wanted him to feel it. Suffocation, the desperation, the fear. Lucas coughed violently, gasping for air. Marcus stood, picked up the knife, walked slowly toward him. Lucas crawled backward, slipping in his own blood. No, wait, please. Marcus raised the blade. Lucas screamed. The knife plunged. It wasn't quick. It wasn't clean. It was rage, grief, vengeance, all made flesh and steel. And when it was done, Lucas wasn't a man anymore. Just a still thing on the floor. Quiet. Gone. Gone. Marcus knelt beside the body, chest heaving, blood soaked his shirt. His hands, the floor beneath him. He didn't speak, didn't move, and then he saw it. Across the hall room. 3B. The very room they dragged Olia into. He stood, walked to the doorway, opened it. Nothing had changed. The same bed, the same monitor, the same damn smell. He stepped inside, sat in the chair by the wall and wept. Not loud, not broken, just the slow, leaking kind of grief that never stops. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Eventually, he stood again, walked back to the body, pulled a photo from his wallet, one of Olia and Maya at the beach. Taped it to Lucas's chest, then walked away. He didn't run, didn't hide. He walked out the same side door his wife entered the night she died. One final time. By morning, hospital staff found the body. Stab wounds, facial fractures, zip tie around the throat. No security footage, no alarms. On the body, a single sticky note beneath the photo. She screamed. No one came, so I did. The news called it a violent act of vigilante justice. The hospital offered thoughts and prayers, but the city knew, the system knew, and for once, they said nothing, because Marcus Monroe had done what they never could. He made justice bleed. The house smelled of dust and cold air. Marcus stood in the doorway, blood drying beneath his fingernails. His jacket clung to his skin like wet paper. The street was quiet. The porch light flickered. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. The world moved on, untouched by the carnage he'd left behind. He walked into the hallway, slow and heavy, his boots tracking faint streaks of red across the hardwood. The living room was dark, until a small voice broke it. Daddy. He turned. Maya stood at the base of the stairs in her pajamas, holding her giraffe plush, her eyes wide, her voice barely audible. He didn't speak. She took one step down, then stopped. Her eyes scanned him, the dark stains on his shirt, his empty stare, his shaking hand gripping the doorknob. Why are you bleeding? Marcus blinked. For the first time in weeks, he didn't have a plan. His voice cracked. There was an accident. She said nothing, just stared. Not with fear, but with distance. Like he wasn't her father anymore, like something sacred had broken. He went upstairs to shower. Hot water ran for an hour. It didn't help. He scrubbed until his skin turned red, raw, until the smell was gone, but it wasn't. It lived in his lungs now. In the grooves beneath his nails, in his eyes, every time he blinked. Afterward, he sat on the edge of the bed, her side, her scent, still there, her scarf, still on the nightstand, the book she never finished reading, still dog-eared. He reached for her photo, Olia in a sundress, arms wrapped around Maya, a sunlit smile, bright and wide. He traced her face with a shaking finger, and then he wept, silently, the kind of weeping that never makes it out your throat. The kind that sits in your bones and keeps you from breathing. The next morning, the news ran soft. No names. No suspects. Just blurred images of Derek, Slade's apparent suicide and Lucas Wells' unexplained death in a hospital basement. Authorities were investigating any potential connections but could not comment on ongoing inquiries. The city exhaled. The headlines faded. No press conference, no Justice Department statement, no arrests, no mention of Olia Monroe. Marcus didn't care, not anymore. He got what he came for, and now he had nothing. Victor showed up 3 days later. He didn't knock. He walked into the garage and found Marcus sitting in front of the wallboard. Stripped now, strings torn down, photos unpinned, papers scattered. The gun lay in Marcus's lap. "I'm not going to stop you," Victor said. Marcus didn't respond. Victor stood in silence, then walked over, picked up the photo of Olia from the floor, wiped it clean. "I saw the footage," he said, "from the hallway. You did it clean, quick." He never had a chance. Still no response. Victor sat beside him. "I'm not here to judge. I'm just here." Marcus turned slowly. "Does it ever go away?" Victor looked at him, eyes tired. "No." Later that night, Marcus stood in the backyard, staring up at the stars, the same sky he once pointed out to Maya on warm nights, the same one Olia used to name constellations under. Now it just looked like a ceiling, something unreachable. The neighbors didn't ask questions. They saw less of him, less of Maya. The mailbox overflowed again. The grass grew long. Grief moved. And like a tenant who'd lost the lease but refused to leave. One evening, Marcus stood in front of the bathroom mirror. He looked older, not just tired, hollow. Eyes that had once hunted predators now looked like they had been hunted themselves. Wrinkles ran deeper, skin paler, soul thinner. He touched his reflection, then whispered, "Was it worth it?" The mirror had no answer. Maya stopped asking about Mummy. She didn't sleep in her own bed anymore. She stayed at her aunt's house. More often, she hugged him less. Something between them had cracked, not with a scream, not with a fight, but like a quiet splinter that never heals right. A month passed, then 2, then 6. The story disappeared from the public entirely. Only 3 people remembered the truth: Marcus, Victor, and Braden, who never spoke of it again. He quit his job, moved out of state, left no forwarding address. One night, Marcus walked into the garage and sat in the chair where the wallboard once hung. He looked at the wall, empty. Now like him, he closed his eyes. He saw her again, not broken, not bleeding, but alive, laughing, spinning in the kitchen in her socks, cracking jokes about his bad cooking, singing Maya to sleep. For one moment, he felt warm. Then he opened his eyes, and the cold came rushing back. There were no headlines, no vindication, no trial, no monument, only silence, only memory, only loss. He had taken justice. But somewhere along the way, he had traded his soul for it.